Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another video. Thought we'd do a little transfer update video. Obviously the transfer window closes tomorrow night or slam shut, whichever way you want to say it. It is the final sort of 24 hours of the transfer window. It will close tomorrow at midnight, meaning there is just over a day left for any business to be done from Everton Football Club, be it outgoings or in fact incomings. And we have had some significant reports and rumours over the last sort of 24 hours or so that I thought were worth sitting down and having a little bit of a chat about ahead of what could be a really manic day tomorrow, with obviously the final few hours of the summer transfer window. And this is news that maybe we didn't expect a couple of weeks ago, but makes sense when you think of all of the variables that go into this situation. And that is that according to Sky Sports and various other journalists across the globe, Fulham are in advanced talks with Everton over the signing of Alex Iwobi. The clubs are finalising a fee and structure to the deal. Iwobi has 1 year left on his Everton contract, and as it stands, he will not sign a new one. There was reports earlier today to suggest that Alex Iwobi wants to leave the football club and has confirmed to the club themselves that he wishes to leave and move on to a new adventure. Alex Iwobi has expressed his wishes to leave the football club after not signing fresh terms offered by the Toffees a number of months ago. Fulham manager Marco Silva has said he does not know if a deal for Alex Iwobi will happen. He is not as confident as he was on Castagna coming in at Fulham. Castagna obviously signing for Fulham earlier on in the week. But Marco Silva seemingly not as confident. Maybe that's because of the money that is involved with this deal, and obviously because of the little time left to complete it, with the deadline of course being tomorrow. The rumoured fee is around 15 to 20 million pounds for Alex Iwobi. As I said, there have been numerous sources and numerous journalists reporting the same thing. The Mail reporting that Fulham are hopeful of agreeing a deal to sign Alex Iwobi from Everton. The fee is said to be £20 million with add-ons. That was before yesterday's Carabao Cup fixture against Doncaster, and various other reports throughout the last 48 hours or so regarding this as well. So yeah, again, not one that I particularly expected to happen, 2 or 3 weeks ago when we were sitting down and we were talking about potential outgoings. Obviously, we were talking about Damari Gray. We were obviously, we're talking about the likes of Jared Branthwaite at that point because his future was unsure. But Alex Iwobi's name was never really one that popped up. Now, obviously, he picked up that injury a week or so ago, and it was quite evident that it was going to keep him out for a number of months, hamstring injury. And maybe in that time, during that time to reflect, during that time to sort of, recover and sort of have a think about his future, maybe he's come to the decision that he wants to leave the football club. Like I said before, I think there's various different variables that go into this situation. Firstly, his contract length. Alex Iwobi has got 10 months left on his current Everton contract, therefore meaning that if he doesn't sign a new one, which regardless of whether or not he leaves and joins Fulham, if he doesn't sign a new contract, which is looking like he won't, as I said, regardless of the Fulham situation and regardless of him leaving the football club within the next 24 hours, it seems like he doesn't want to stay at the football club beyond his current contract term. The contract offer from Everton seems to have been on the table for a number of months now, and Alex Iwobi seems to not really be interested in signing that, meaning that if he isn't to leave in the next 24 hours of this transfer window, he of course would walk for free next summer. He'd be available to talk to clubs in January, and obviously he would leave the football club for absolutely nothing in the following summer. We signed him for around 25-30 million pounds in 2019, so that is something that we have to think about. Sean Dyche has had his pre-game press conference today ahead of Saturday's game against Sheffield United, and he's spoken about the need to understand the business side of these things as well as the footballing side, and how that Everton is a business and it is run as a business, and if a business decision needs to be made, then the footballing side has to be able to deal with that, which I thought was really interesting. Effectively saying, if the football club can't agree terms with Alex Iwobi to a new contract, then he is more than likely going to be sold, and whether or not we bring in a replacement is something that the manager will have to deal with. Also, another big variable for this situation is Alex Iwobi's personal stance himself. If Alex Iwobi wants to leave this football club and he's not willing, pardon me, and he's not willing to sign a new contract with the football club, and his current contract runs out next summer, and Everton have had an offer of around £20 million for him now with 10 months left on his contract, I think it would be a little bit silly for Everton to not accept that offer. Now, again, I am fully aware what Alex Iwobi brings to Everton Football Club, and I'm not somebody that is particularly sort of, is not aware of his impact. I know there's a lot of Evertonians that seemingly think Alex Iwobi is absolutely terrible and doesn't offer anything at all to the football club. That is wrong. I mean, if you have a look at his stats last season, he was the top at the football club for assists. He was top at the football club for expected assists. He was top for key passes. He was top for passes into the final third. He was top for passes into penalty box. He was top for progressive passes. He was second for progressive carries. He was top for attempted dribbles. He was third for tackles. He was second for ball recovery. So he's up there in the top three for a lot of stats that ultimately, go together to make an impactful footballer. And that just shows the actual impact that he has. Does he score enough goals? No, he doesn't, and he never has for this football club, and that's something that has always been an issue. Ever since he joined the club in 2019, ultimately he doesn't score enough goals and he doesn't get enough assists, but there is obviously a massive argument to be had that isn't actually because of him, and it's more so because of the team and the players that are playing around him not being good enough to put away the chances that he is creating. And I'm sure if you were to speak to Alex Iwobi, he would make that argument himself, that it isn't necessarily his fault that he hasn't had any more assists. Goals, yes, of course, it is his responsibility, because ultimately it's, it's his lack of quality in the final third when he has an opportunity to score. But in terms of assists, if he plays 5 or 6 really, really good passes into the final third, or 5 or 6 really, really good crosses into the box, and they're not finished, then that ultimately isn't his fault, because he's done his job. We know that chances created, he is, up there with the best at the football club, probably is the best at the football club in terms of chances created. So it isn't a case of, yet sell him, he doesn't offer anything to the football club whatsoever, because he obviously does offer something to the football club. Clearly the stats themselves show you there, and as I've just said, if you look at any of Everton's creative stats over the last year or two, Alex Iwobi has been well in there with some of the most creative players at this football club. However, like I said before, 10 months left on a current contract. Clearly or seemingly doesn't want to stay at the football club, has expressed his desire to leave the football club. Whether that's because it's Fulham and he wants to go back to living in London or not, I don't know, but it's quite clear that there isn't an agreement between Alex Iwobi and Everton on a new contract. Therefore, Everton are in a financial position where they either keep him at the football club and allow him to leave for free next summer, or they try and make some money on him in this transfer window. And we spoke a little bit about Alex Iwobi's contract situation in the summer, and how a decision was ultimately going to have to be made. Now, whether that decision was for him to sign a new contract and stay at the club, or whether that decision was for him to be sold, we at the time we didn't know. It seems like that decision has been made, and it will be that Alex Iwobi will be sold over the next 24 hours or so. It is a little bit concerning in terms of needing a replacement, because I don't think we can allow Alex Iwobi to leave the football club without going and bringing in a replacement for him. As I've just read out to you there, his stats in terms of creatively and having an impact on this team going forward, and having an impact on the goals that this team score, even though we don't score many of them, is quite clear to see. Yes, he doesn't score himself enough, and yes, he probably doesn't assist himself enough, but there's absolutely no overlooking the fact that he is one of our best creative players in this squad. So allowing him to leave without replacing him would be a massive, massive risk, given, we're already in a position with him where we aren't good enough going forward. However, £20 million for a player with 10 months left on his contract, who'll walk for free next summer anyway, you almost have to look at that as a good bit of business, I think. And whilst it will be difficult within the next 24 hours for Everton to go out and replace him, if we can go out and replace him, I think the move makes sense for everybody. I think it makes sense for Everton. I think it makes sense for Alex Iwobi. And ultimately, it makes sense for Fulham as well, if it is to be Fulham that he obviously moves to. Now, if this move doesn't come of anything for whatever reason, maybe Fulham haven't got enough time to complete the deal, maybe Everton say, actually, do you know what, no, we've left it too late and we don't want to sell him at this stage in the transfer window, whatever the reason might be, if this move doesn't happen, then I think ultimately it's paramount that Alex Iwobi gets his head down, continues his recovery, comes back from injury, and ultimately gets his head down and performs at the highest level for Everton Football Club. We then are in a position where ultimately you have to try and convince him to sign a new contract, otherwise you are going to lose out on a £30 million player, or a player worth around £20-30 million in terms of his valuation. If that can't happen, and if Alex Iwobi is absolutely set on leaving Everton Football Club and absolutely doesn't want to sign a new deal, then I think Everton should try and make this move happen. And hopefully it will give us a little bit of money to play around with over the next 24 hours or so. Obviously, we don't know what's going on with Tom Cannon yet. He has been linked with a number of football clubs. We don't know what's going on with Damari Gray yet. He has been linked with a number of football clubs as well. The manager has confirmed today that all three of those players have got clubs sort of sniffing around them, and various things could happen over the next day or so with any of those players. So, again, it will be risky because it's not the easiest thing to go out and replace your most creative player with 12 hours of it or 24 hours of a transfer window left. However, again, some people would say, well, if you reject £20 million for Alex Iwobi and then he leaves next summer for free, then that's, an absolutely ridiculous thing to do. And in terms of business and given the financial position Everton are in and the financial situation Everton are in, it would make sense to take that money and allow him to move on. Obviously, there are a number of players that Everton could look at to replace him. We know the likes of Kamaldeen Sulemana at Southampton has been rumoured with a potential move to Everton Football Club. Wilfred Gnonto's name is still popping up, as is Luis Sinisterra at Leeds United as well. Maxwell Cornet, the latest name to be linked with a move to Everton, according to Mike McGrath. Everton are exploring a loan deal to sign West Ham winger Maxwell Cornet, and I assume that if Alex Iwobi does leave the football club, or Damari Gray does leave the football club, then I'm sure Everton will be absolutely adamant on getting a replacement in tomorrow, because it would be a little bit silly for us to allow Alex Iwobi to leave and potentially Damari Gray to leave without any replacement for either of them. Jack Talbot reported that Everton are keen on Southampton winger Kamaldeen Sulemana or Leeds United's Luis Sinisterra as they look to sign a winger in the last few days of the transfer window. And Jay Tanswell reported that Southampton winger Kamaldeen Sulemana wants to leave the football club. He's got a £30 million release clause and Southampton want that valuation met. So it seems like we have replacements lined up. Now, I'm sure those names will be listed in terms of the whoever the number one target is. I assume it will probably still be Wilfred Gnonto if he still is on the list, and then it might be Sinisterra, and then it might be Sulemana, and then it might be Maxwell Cornet, and I'm sure Everton will want to come out of of tomorrow's deadline day with at least one of those players at the football club. Again, I said this last week, I think Everton should have been targeting bringing in one of these players anyway, before we even spoke about Alex Iwobi leaving the football club, or before we even spoke about Damari Gray leaving the football club. That probably isn't going to be the case. Now, what I'm saying is, if Everton allow Alex Iwobi and Damari Gray to leave, then I think we should be going out and buying 3 wingers, because I think we needed a winger even with those 2 players still at the football club. But we know that's not how football works, and we know Everton are very, very unlikely to sign 3 wingers on deadline day. So the reality of the situation is it will probably be Iwobi leaving and one of those names coming in, or both Iwobi and Gray leaving and one of those names coming in. But the reality is, if we can make 30-odd, 40-odd million pounds off Damari Gray and Alex Iwobi, then maybe we can go and spend that on getting Gnonto out of Leeds, or getting Sinisterra out of Leeds, or getting Sulemana out of Southampton, without having to sort of go and get Maxwell Cornet on loan if those two players would have stayed at the football club. So one thing's for sure is we absolutely cannot allow Alex Iwobi to leave without replacing him. Personally, I would like Everton to go out and buy a winger and a creative central midfielder, because I don't think Alex Iwobi is a winger. I think he's a creative central midfielder. So if Everton could go out and get a Suleimana or a Sinisterra and then go out and put some money on a creative central midfielder that can come in and create those chances that Alex Iwobi was creating, then that would be the perfect sort of way to replace him, and then obviously replacing Damari Gray in the same vein. But how likely that is to happen, I'm not entirely sure. This is definitely a evolving situation, and one that I'm sure will progress substantially over the next 24 hours or so. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit that bell notification, because whenever anything breaks or happens, we'll be going live and we'll be talking about it on the channel as it happens. So yeah, as it seems, in terms of Everton's deadline day business, Alex Iwobi could potentially leave the football club to join Fulham. We haven't heard much about Damari Gray recently, but it seems like, you know, that the overall outcome that everybody wants is for him to get a move away from the football club. As I've just mentioned, we've been linked with a number of players. The Tom Cannon situation is an interesting one as well. Rumours that Norwich have bid £7 million for him. We'll wait and see how that one progresses over the coming day or so. And yeah, one thing is for certain, is we are in for a busy final deadline day. If that means that Everton have got a couple of outgoings, then for me it absolutely has to mean Everton bring in at least one or two players, because we cannot allow Damari Gray, Tom Cannon, Alex Iwobi to leave without anybody coming through the door. It's as simple as that. Let's see what happens. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Are you happy that Alex Iwobi is leaving the football club? Are you disappointed, or are you in that position where you're like, well, if he wants to leave and he's not going to sign a new deal, then we haven't really got much of a choice? Let us know your thoughts down below. If you have enjoyed this one, please do leave a like. If you are new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well. That would mean a massive amount to me. Big thank you all for watching, and we'll see you soon.